Harry, let's go to Pittsburgh. The Steelers' number is 7.9 wins. That would mean a losing season for Mike Tomlin. You going more or less than 7.9?
This is an easy one, Grinny. I'm going more. Since 2007, what Mike Tomlin has showed us is that he is not going to have a losing season. I also think this football team have better quarterbacks than they've had the last 2 years as well. So they're going to be able to have more than 7.9 wins this year.
Well, it's an interesting dynamic. Let's do that. With the new improved quarterback room, you got Justin Fields, you got Russell Wilson. Our analytics give the Steelers just a 29% chance of making the playoffs. That is the lowest among the 14 teams who made the playoffs last year. And here's kind of where I want to spin the conversation, because Harry makes an important point. Now, Harry, in fact, I will start it with you. Do we think they go over?
Yep.
Perhaps, because Mike Tomlin's teams always go over. Do we think maybe they sneak into the back of the playoffs, 29% chance? Maybe they do. But I think the fans in Pittsburgh are tired of that. I think the fans in Pittsburgh are saying, when are we going to be a legitimate contender again? Do you believe with either Justin Fields or Russell Wilson, this team can be that, Harry?
I do, Greeny, and it's because some of the pieces that they added, right? You look at that offensive line, it's just not going to be what we've seen in the past. And then you throw in the offensive coordinator, Arthur Smith. This team offensively is going to be as physical as we've seen them of late. They went and got Troy Fautanu from Washington in the first round. They got Zach Frazier from West Virginia for the center position. They drafted Broderick Jones in the first round last year to go on their offensive line. This team was 13th in rushing in 2023. Do not be surprised if they're top 5 in rushing this year. Now, what's important about Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, what they cannot do is what they did the last 2 years, and that's have negative plays. That's interceptions, fumbles, taking sacks because you're holding the football too long. You must complement this offense in the proper way, and I think the Pittsburgh Steelers will be sitting right where they want to be. But the early start is important for this football team because their last 8 games are brutal.
Yeah. Including all 6 of their division games.
Yeah.
And again, Kimberly Martin is basically, you are the president of the AFC North. You cover all these teams for us, it seems, every single week. How do you expect, and how quickly do you expect us to figure out is it going to on our way towards?
Russell will determine about.
I don't care what
do
you
not
say.
be easy. That boy, I might be afraid to.
Justin Fields ain't got time for all of that, okay? You talking about 2 quarterbacks in different seasons of their career? Like Russell Wilson, different seasons.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson, he's accomplished everything. He's done all of that. His legacy is set right now.
So Russell should just be like, okay,
no, I'm not. No, but what I'm saying is Justin Fields is literally playing for his career. Like, he needs to, it's got to be this year. He can't afford to sit on the bench this year behind Russell Wilson. Like, he's got to be assertive in this quarterback battle, because the one thing I will say about Justin Fields that relates to this Pittsburgh Steelers offense, Harry talked about it, this Pittsburgh Steelers offense is going to be physical. They're going to run the football. Arthur Smith, offensive coordinator, he wants to run it and he wants play action pass. You know what Justin Fields does well? Play action pass. And he's an elite athlete at the quarterback position. So that's what.
Yeah, so this is an interesting question to me, an interesting topic in general, about can the Steelers make the playoffs, and should they be happy with that? Because I agree, I'm very connected. I lived in Pittsburgh, and I know that fan base is incredibly passionate, incredibly intense. They have a immense pride in the success that the Steelers have accomplished over the years. Their buses, not now, I'm sure, but when I was living there, their buses had like all the rings like on their fingers and stuff, like, as like a picture or whatever. Like, it's just, I was actually there when they won their last Super Bowl. I lived there. And so I just know how passionate they are, and they don't want to just sneak in the playoffs anymore. They don't want this. They want success. They want to be competing for AFC championships. They want to get to the AFC championship game. They want to compete for Super Bowls. That is what they expect from the Steelers. Right? Like, that's what they expect. This isn't just some gee golly franchise where they're just, oh, we're just lucky to be here. We're just happy to be there in the playoffs. That's not who the Steelers are. They want things to happen, and their patience is running thin at this point. And so here's the question is, Justin Fields is seen as immense potential, but also blow up potential because he's unproven. I mean, even if you're the biggest Justin Fields fan, you can't say that he's been proven because he's not. He hasn't truly proven. Has he shown moments? Of course, but he's not proven. On the other side, we have Russell Wilson, who a lot of people think is potentially washed and done, but has proven himself, has proven legitimate concrete success. And now I did a recording of this yesterday where we talked about there was kind of this thoughts that Arthur Smith is going to be able to really thrive with Justin Fields, but that Russell Wilson will start. And my whole counter to that was like, well, that makes no sense. If you think Justin Fields is going to be able to thrive with the Steelers and the pieces that they have, as well as Arthur Smith with the OC, then why even start Russell Wilson? Because if you're going to start Russell Wilson then bench him for Justin Fields, that means Russell Wilson is playing poorly and costing you games. Nobody has time for that. If you're a Steelers fan, you're not here just to give Russell Wilson the starting role just because you think that that's the nice and right thing to do. The Steelers fans don't care about that. They're looking at him and saying, that guy has made more money in 3 months than I've made in my entire career. Pittsburgh is a hard-working city. It's very similar to like a Philly in New York. They don't have any sympathy for that. They're not like, well, we told Russell Wilson that he was going to start, so he should start. They don't care about that. Not at all. So it doesn't make any sense. If Justin Fields proves to be the guy, well, then he better start. It's that simple. Now, I'm not saying he is the guy or isn't the guy, because I have no idea. I'm not at camp. We have no idea. I'm just curious what Arthur Smith is going to do with either of these quarterbacks. But I also said that if this team has legitimate weapons and they really have bolstered to be able to play good physical football, then, and Arthur Smith is a legitimate OC that a lot of people believe he is, if that's the case, then to me there's no reason why Russell Wilson would not then thrive in that system. And if Russell Wilson's going to thrive, if you're going to have two quarterbacks, both quarterbacks could theoretically thrive, you're going to probably go with Russell Wilson then because he's the seasoned veteran. He's the one that is going to minimize mistakes and turnovers. Because that's what, I think it was what he was saying, or I forget who said this. It might have been Douglas, I'm not sure. But where he said you have to minimize turnovers and negative plays. And you're going to most likely have that, minimize that more with a more seasoned veteran like Russell Wilson, who doesn't need to continue to learn how to play football in the NFL. Whereas Justin Fields, he's practically going to be a rookie. Seriously, he's going to be making the same rookie mistakes. He's going to be going through legitimate, genuine growing pains. So if the Steelers have a legitimate roster, and their problem has just been their quarterback, which I think is actually kind of fair, because think of the success that they've had, specifically let's just look at last season, and I know their roster has changed a little bit and upgraded and stuff like that. Imagine if they had a legitimate bona fide quarterback. Imagine if they had a Jordan Love. Like, it doesn't even have to be an elite quarterback, right? I'm just going to name off a bunch of quarterbacks. Just good, solid, competent quarterbacks. Jordan Love, Jalen Hurts, Dak Prescott. Obviously, we know if they have a Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, of course. But just like any quarterback that we know is legit. We know we're not questioning whether or not can he stay in the league, can he not? Is he a backup, is he not? Right? It's not hard to imagine that the Steelers would have been better than they were this last season, that they would have had another couple wins, right? And they didn't get that with Mason Rudolph, Pickett, and whoever else they had playing last season. So if Fields proves to be a legitimate quarterback, well, then the Steelers should be very successful. And if Russell Wilson also proves to be he still has it, that it was just a bad place, right? Because he had Nathaniel Hackett, which was a disaster, and then he had an issue with Peyton. Maybe Peyton proves to not really be that great of a head coach, that he was just kind of getting by on Drew Brees, or that it just didn't mesh with him, and that the Broncos just didn't have a good roster. But now he's going to be in a more supportive environment with Tomlin, with a good OC and Arthur Smith, a more supportive system, and maybe now we get to have a little bit of the old Russell Wilson. In either of those circumstances, the Steelers should be really good then. I mean, they should be a formidable foe. They should be a team that nobody really wants to face, especially if they make it to the playoffs. You're not going to be like, oh, okay, good, we got the Steelers. That'll be easy. It'll be like, oh, man, the Steelers are a tough out. Like, again, I'm not saying that they necessarily have Super Bowl potential unless Justin Fields proves to be like the Chicago Bears were a disaster. I am a legitimate quarterback. Then maybe, right? Then maybe. And same thing with Russell Wilson. If Russell Wilson's like, bro, do you know who I am? I make Pro Bowls. I win Super Bowls. I win a Super Bowl. Like, I am for real. Yeah, I had a couple down seasons because of very specific reasons. I am still him. Don't bury me yet. Then I think the Steelers could go far. But it's those scenarios. The only way that the Steelers aren't good is if Russell Wilson really is still hanging on by a thread in terms of who he really is as a quarterback, and if Justin Fields proves to not actually really be a legitimate quarterback in the NFL, that he really is just a backup. He just can't do what needs to be done, and it has nothing to do with the Chicago Bears. He's just not good, right? If both of those things end up being true, then the Steelers will struggle. They'll still win some games, of course, because they have a good enough team, but they won't be able to really do the work. So you got to ask yourself, is at least one of these quarterbacks a legitimate, bona fide NFL quarterback? And if the answer is yes, then I think the Steelers have a great chance to win, to get into the playoffs. And then who knows? Then it all depends on who they're going up against, what the seating is, home field, weather, all that fun stuff. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think? Do you think the Steelers can outperform the low expectations? And do you think, who gives them a better chance, Russell Wilson or Justin Fields? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.